Now, I want to get back to the Prime Minister's big announcement today about The Voice, to talk about a massive sellout that no one's talking about, a massive weakness too, in fact, a disgrace. Anthony Albanese today made clear that he has caved in to another demand of the powerful Aborigines who have designed this voice, this kind of Aboriginal-only parliament that, by the way, can never get sacked. That cave-in is this: there will be no democracy. Democracy was great for the Athenians more than 2,000 years ago, but apparently it's going to be denied to Aborigines. The members of this voice will not have to be elected at all. Selected, yes; elected, no. Because the theory is that would undermine the power of the Aboriginal aristocracy that has presided over the social disaster out bush for decades. So the members of the voice will instead be appointed by existing bodies or by local leaders or in accordance with so-called Aboriginal traditions. There will be some hand-picking as well. You know, we've got to have some youth voices, etc. But who actually does this, Albanese refuses to say. And the voice, what's more, will not replace one single one of the thousands of Aboriginal groups already out there.
It will be representative of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities with a gender balance and include youth. The voice will work alongside existing organisations and traditional structures, respecting their work.
What is going on? Joining me is Warren Mundine, head of the No Campaigns Recognise a Better Way. Warren Mundine, thanks for your time. Let me first ask you overall, the details the Prime Minister released today. Your reaction?
Look, I just find it bizarre that they've had all these secret meetings and been arguing and carrying on for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then they come up with the same thing that they had 6 months ago. I just find it quite bizarre. This thing is just a disaster. And you just pointed out some really big problems. What it is about is cementing the people who have been running Indigenous affairs for the last 50 years, and you've got the disastrous problems that we have today. This is not going to improve one person's life on the ground.
Yeah, but to that point about why there's no democracy, I would have thought it was a natural, right? And I think most people voting for the voice would assume that it works on a vote, a national vote. What's the problem here? But no, the referendum working group has recommended, and the government has accepted, that there's going to be no democracy, right? There will be no national vote. And my theory is, and I'd appreciate your insights, is that it's doing this to preserve the power of the Aboriginal aristocracy that's already presided over this, so that they will not be challenged. In fact, we'll have probably many of the same old faces in this voice that exists today, that have been responsible for this disaster. They do not want someone elected by the grassroots to challenge them. Am I being too cynical here?
No, you're 100% correct there, Andrew. It is about the building a power base because they've seen that they were losing their position. Because Aboriginals are going out now, setting up their own businesses. It's been something like 171% growth in that. You know, we've gone from $6.7 million to $8.7 billion in that growth area, creating 22,000 jobs. Aboriginals are getting this freedom of democracy, the freedom of free enterprise, the freedom of economic prosperity. The big problem is between the provincial towns and the cities, and also the remote and regional areas which are lagging behind. Look, if he was fair dinkum about that, there were Aboriginals in the parliament yesterday who were wandering around. They come from Nooka, they come from Alice Springs, they come from parts all over Australia. The Minister for Indigenous Australians refused to meet them. The Prime Minister refused to meet them, and yet here they are sprouting.
They're not in the club, Warren.
Crocodile tears.
They're not in the club.
Of course they're not in the club, but they're supposed, and they're saying, "Oh, we're here for Aboriginal people," and that they're just denying people the rights that they deserve as Australians, and this is just disgraceful behaviour the way they're carrying on. You know, he cries today. He goes up to Alice Springs where young kids are out in the street you know, rioting and carrying on, and kids are being brutalised in their local communities, and women didn't cry there. And then he goes off to the tennis and that. This guy is just a complete fraud.
Warren, I think I'm going to play you a clip, which I think, to me, confirms really that when he talks about we need to give the grassroots the voice, it's in fact talking about very, very powerful Aborigines, not the grassroots at all.
Correct.
Because listen to this claim that he made about the people on the stage today with him, like I say, members of the Aboriginal aristocracy, like Pat Dodson, like Marsha Langton, like Megan Davis. I could go through the whole list. Listen to this.
This isn't about me. I wanted to hear from Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people themselves the process of getting to this point isn't top down, it's bottom up from the people here.
It is from the bottom up, from the people here, he said. The aristocrats of the Aboriginal movement have presided over this disaster for decades.
Well, the 24 hours...
represent the grassroots.
No, 24 hours before that, he had the grassroots there. The people that he should have been talking to. People who are not these academic, articulated people, but actually Aboriginals from the bush who were there to talk about their issues in their communities, but they just brushed them aside. They want these people who have been living off the government tit for decades, you know, setting up committees after committees after committees. I'm a strong believer the only way forward for these communities is education and economic prosperity, and that's what we've got to do to move these communities. There's not one bottom-up bloody process there. These people have been around so long and for years, and you can see the problems in Aboriginal communities. It goes right back to these organisations. In fact, the other day, me and Jacinta said we want to call for, you know, audits of these organisations and that. How come they've been around for 40 years? They've been paid millions and millions of dollars, and nothing's changed.
Warren, I got to say, I can't name this person, but let me just say they were involved in the proceedings we've seen today, who told me, because off camera, this person is very honest, said that so much of Aboriginal politics today has to be understood as the Aboriginal aristocracy arguing amongst themselves for the right to misspend the money themselves. That's what it's about. Warren Mundine, thank you so much indeed for your help.